Hello everyone. So today we're going to talk about conceptual art. Conceptual art is also called post-object or art as an idea, and it's artwork whose medium is an idea or a concept, and it's usually manipulated by tools of language and sometimes photography. It has been described as one of the most influential movements of the 20th century. Conceptual art involved a redefinition of the traditional relationship between artist and audience, and it would empower artists and enable them to operate both inside and outside the gallery system. Its origins trace back to 1917, when Marcel Duchamp famously brought an urinal from a plumber's shop and submitted it as a sculpture in an exhibition in New York, for which he was on the selection committee. The jury rejected its work and they considered it as immoral and refused to accept it. Duchamp's questionings of where the boundaries of art lie and his critique of art established and paved the way for conceptual art. The term conceptual art traditionally refers in art history to the tendency that emerged between the mid-1960s and mid-70s. During that period, many artists explored the visions of a new kind of art and a new role for the artists. And they were no longer producing objects, but creating ideas. And that should be a work of art, problematizing the idea of what can and cannot be art. In this art context, many conceptual artists also critiqued the production, distribution, exhibition, and promotion of structure of the art system. Conceptual art can be and look like almost anything. A conceptual artist uses whatever materials and whatever form is more appropriate to putting their idea across. This could be anything from a performance to a written description. Also, conceptual artists were influenced by the brutal simplicity of minimalism, but they rejected minimalism's embrace of conventions of sculpture and painting because they would like to stay as an artistic production. And for conceptual artists, art not need to look like traditional work or even take a physical form at all. Now, the linguistic concept. The language was an important tool for conceptual artists. Many used language in place of more traditional materials like brushes and canvas. And words played a primary role in their emphasis on ideas or their visual forms. Lewitt was among the principal originator of this strategy, which his peers widely embraced. Arguing that idea alone can be art, he allowed for a measure of separation between art and his artwork. This trend, according to the British philosopher Peter Osborne, could be influenced by the impact of Anglo-American analytic and structuralist philosophical theories. And as you can see on screen, that's the thing that Lewitt wrote. There is a description of what can be conceptual art, or his definition of conceptual art. Now, media art. This term is understood to apply to all forms of time-related works, which are created by recording sound or visual images. Although digital technologies were established in the 1980s, these analog and electronic tools answered to new creative needs, which reflected in economic, social, and political fields, and predicted many media art features. This technology involved a genuine revolution at the artistic level, especially because of its instantaneous nature and multiplicity, both in functional process and in materialization of the artworks. In the case of the photocopy, the machine was originally electric and later became digital technology. It had a number of technical and functional features, as well as restrictions that made it unique for creative use by becoming its graphic language. Because media art includes so many different artworks, we will here explain only part of them more deeply. One of them is video art. Since 1965, video has been a place in the realm of visual art, and over that time has developed into one of the most forms of art, the most used, sorry. After the successful introduction of video equipment for consumers in the United States in the 1960s, Europe followed somewhat later, and artists began to experiment with this new medium. The Netherlands played a pioneering role on this part, particularly with setting up facilities and workplaces for new art, partly because of the open climate of its liberal society, and that's why many young artists were dragged down to the Netherlands to establish themselves there as artists, and many of them become involved in video. They were stimulus for setting up video workplaces, like the one that you can see in the photo. Artists discovered the creative potential of the medium, experimented with its documentary authority because they had to defend their choice of the new medium against the world, and that need not yet appear to have a justice to this new form of art. In the production process, the slow integration of new, simpler, and less inexpensive montage techniques marked a major change in video art, which freed up the way of its assimilation into the world. From the 1990s, video art was manifestly unaccepted in the visual arts. The earliest video was primarily a reaction to mass media. Video artists buried television sets and deformed television images, but also made abstract video images and underground reportages. The introduction of the video camera enabled anyone to stop outside and assume multiple roles. They could be the director, the marker, and the cameraman. And these are characterized by a very personal approach and the choice of subject. For conceptual and performance art, the primary concern was having a record of process and not the end result. Here, it was not only visual elements such as color, light, and shape that were important, but also less tangible elements having to do with the content, the video, and the live images of the work. Continuing, we have mail art. The New York artist Ray Johnson, who in the mid-1950s posted small collages of prints and abstract drawings and poems to art, were notable, giving rise and eventually became known as the New York Correspondence School. Mail art can take a variety of forms, including postcards, as we can see on the image in the video, packages, faxes, emails, and blogs. Artists send postcards inscribed with poems or drawings through the post rather than exhibiting or selling them through conventional commercial. Now, this is one of my favorites, the copy art. The first artists who adopted this technology were mainly North Americans, who started this trend to create with this machine that led artists to explore all its possibilities. This machine became a center which gathered many artists, using it to go beyond the use of a simple artistic technique and turning it into an artistic movement known as copy art. The US American inventor Chester Floyd Carlson, who patented the electrographic reproduction process after making his first electrographic copy in Astoria, the 22nd of October in 1938. In that copy, consisted of a text written with graphite pencil in which the date and place of the event was indicated. And it's the one here on the right. That's the copy that we're talking about. And the result of his process was denominated xerography, that is to say dry writing, and became used dry electrostatic for copying documents. Another interesting one is it art. It art was invented by Daniel Spoerry as a culinary extension of his artistic work. It art encapsulated the neo-Dadaist desire for an increased intervention of life into art. Spoerry coined the term it art for his particular brand of object art. The artists decided to work with food because they wanted to explore the significance of nutrition in human existence. He tried to establish that was suitable for consumption and its connection with taste. These questions led him to invent an experimental dish such as mashed potatoes, like ice cream. And when the appearance of the dishes suggests that the guests were getting in the meal with coffee, but ingredients of preparation were adopted to a normal menu sequence so that the espresso turned out to be soup. Now, to finish, we have this quote of Saul Lewitt that says, conceptual art can be ironic, serious, or even shocking. Conceptual art can be anything or nothing in the end. The idea behind it is the only thing that matters, so it is the machine that makes the art. That will be it for today. Thank you for your attention. I hope you enjoyed the subject as much as I did.